Hey guys, we're back after a couple weeks. I actually have a fat pimple on my face today. So not only is this considered as a podcast, I'm also counting it as exposure therapy because we're really facing our fears today. We're really going big. So I'm sure everybody is just over the moon proud of me right now. And it's a big deal, guys. I think we should celebrate small victories like these. It's really important that we pat ourselves on the back every once in a while for stepping out of our comfort zone. So yeah, this is a big deal. This pimple is very stubborn, very, very stubborn, and it's not going away anytime soon. So you might see it in the next episode. We just might. Okay, so speaking of episodes, today it's gonna kind of be an extension of last week's episode. So last week we dipped our toes in anarchy and, different government structures. Is democracy working? And so today we're actually gonna extend on that concept. We're gonna be talking about liberalism against capitalism. Like, can the two coexist? And, just kind of once again discussing the flaws because it's food for thought, am I right? So it's very important that we first kind of define liberalism and capitalism so that we're on the same page. So, girl, wait. Okay. Liberalism is the idea that individuals are entitled to certain inherent rights and freedoms, and it places a high value on personal autonomy and the protection of civil liberties. So, human rights, essentially. And for capitalism, it is an economic and social system characterized by private ownership of the means of production, the pursuit of profit through voluntary exchange in markets, and the emphasis on individual entrepreneurship. And it also emphasizes competition and economic growth. Okay, so basically this discussion stemmed from an article that I read. I think it was John Rawls. It was his argument. And the context of this whole liberalism versus capitalism argument is that, so there was this steel company, and this was around 1970s and 80s, and there was basically a lawsuit trying to decide and determine if the steel company would belong to the city or if it would belong to the people. And so this Judge Lambrose, took a alternative stance and was like, so he suggested an argument saying that the people had community property right, and so they would basically be able to own the company because of the relationship, the people and the workers and the effort that they put in to maintain the company. And so basically they deserved to have it. However, that lawsuit failed because during the ruling, Judge Lambrose went against his own argument and said that it belonged to the city. So he kind of had to go against his own moral values because there weren't any laws that protected the people and said that they were entitled to this company. There were no laws that backed up this community property right, and so it ultimately belonged to the city and the lawsuit failed. So the problem here is liberalism places a heavy emphasis on allowing us to do what we want. So us as individuals, we get to choose and determine what we're going to do with our time. We have different strengths and weaknesses, so we basically just get to do what we will. This is our life. We get to we basically get the inherent right to determine our fate. However, this leads to a division of labor. So in the past, when it was more like the primitive ages, it's evident that some people may be hunters, others may be caretakers, others may take on roles of gatherers. In the past, it's already been socially accepted that people are responsible for different aspects of society, and even in the modern day, some people are in the medicinal field, some people are in more labor oriented fields, and this kind of results in a class stratified society where it's not only labor that is divided, it's the classes and the status, and that's gonna ultimately lead to inequality and a unbalanced power dynamic between different demographics. With that, Rao argues that no form of capitalism can ever cohere with liberal ideas of society of equals. And so social equality and basic liberties will always be thrawed by capitalism. Saw actually a lot of debates on this topic. Like, a lot of people were talking about how, okay, yeah, but people are different. So that's why people belong in different kind of social groups and different responsibilities, if you will. And yeah, okay, but I think that just enforces the point that capitalism and liberalism cannot coexist, because your rights and your differences are not mutually exclusive. Like, we could have different interests and different talents, yes, still participate the same amount in society. Like, one of the main issues with capitalism is that there is a hierarchy, and some people are in charge of this, of maintaining this social system, while others, the workers, the laborers, are just participants, but they aren't actually partaking, if that makes sense. Like, they only serve as the labor role, however, they aren't actually dealing with the financial, if that makes sense. Like, the competition is merely between the capitalists, and the workers and the middle classmen are only essentially tools, and low-key getting manipulated by the capitalists for their profit. And I think another issue is that we don't have the same opportunities, like, there are a lot of limitations to the job opportunities and the access that we get to reach and climb the social ladder, if you will. Like, race, sexuality, gender, and so much more are all factors that contribute to whether one gets a head start or whether one is more prone to a field. These are all in the past very evident. So liberalism obviously highly emphasizes human rights, and so social inequality is kind of a sub-branch of all of the above. And so social inequality obviously indicates that everybody is participating equally. Everybody gets the same opportunities. There's no one superior or the other. No. everybody is on the same wavelength, and also people are getting taken care of by each other, and there are laws that are supporting these fundamental ideas. And so, as we've talked about, we don't have equal opportunities. There are racial differences. People with disabilities are obviously at a disadvantage. And so that is obviously one of the main problems. And we also discussed the contribution of capitalists. Like, they are the primary contributors to society, and so they are the ones who are dictating, okay, what goes on and what's happening, who's trading what. They're basically the key players of the world that we live in. And so, okay, they're the ones that are making the decisions, but they are basing these decisions off their profit motives. Like, their motives divert from the working class while they are making these collective decisions for society, you know? Like, it almost reminds me of social Darwinism a little bit. Right now in US history, we are learning about social Darwinism, and it basically means that they are only there to enhance their economics, and so they're leaving like the weaker and the poor classes behind because they are holding back society, and it's more important to enhance the rich. And so you can kind of tell that this will lead to a wage gap, and in some countries this is still very, very evident. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer, and it's really hard to fill in this gap when it's embedded in our society to continue to generate profit and to always strive to enhance the economy. But I want you guys to remember to not judge things too hard, okay? We know that capitalism has its flaws for sure, but we're not just going to completely abandon it, and resort to anarchy. Like, we kind of left last episode a little bit open-ended, a little bit silly goofy with the possibilities, but ultimately I think it's really important. I'm just gonna wrap up these 2 episodes and just really, tell you guys that it's important to weigh out the pros and cons. Like, if you find out the cons are significantly, drastically outweighing the pros, then okay, obviously take action and try to find balance. But honestly, if you are just hyper fixating on the negative, and in reality it's actually working for a reason, then I think we could look at it from a different lens and take a different approach, because there is definitely so many resources that you can access and that will be able to support you. So just do not be afraid to reach out to any help that you need. If you are struggling and if things just feel like it's not going your way, then definitely do not think, oh, well, there's still light at the end of the tunnel. Like, guys, we are responsible for getting help ourselves, so it's really important that we actually seek the help and are open to receiving help. And so yeah, if you are struggling, then I really just hope that this that this discussion kind of guides you in a way to just find balance. Obviously, liberalism and capitalism cannot be so distinctly, textbook definition followed in our society. That's just not how it works. There has to be some sort of middle ground that will be able to allow these two to be presented together, because at this point in our lifetime, this is just how we're going to balance our human rights and also advance our economy and society and enrich our lives. So it's not going to be black and white. There's going to be a gray area, and what you do with that gray area is essential. Okay, if we only look at the black and white, you are never going to be satisfied. And I think this example really just goes to show that there are so many layers that is peeled back and stripped back when you really go in depth. Okay, it's never going to be simple, but if you need help exploring your own gray area, please go find it. Okay, yeah, this is our little talk for today. We kind of went off from the government, but I think what's really important is that we can relate what our society is displaying and connect it to our own lives, and being able to go from a large scale problem and then reduce it to our own individual scale. I think that's so important because we are constantly learning and adopting the things around us, and if we can't differentiate the two and apply it to our own lives, then I think we're really missing out on a big learning opportunity. So yeah, I hope this not only teaches you a little bit more about capitalism and the world around us, but you could also actually use this for your life. So thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. Please go follow all the socials, yada yada yada, and have a great day. My laptop is about to die, and as you can see, it's pitch black in here. So yeah. Oh.